Some of the American press will remember when I got a phone call from the leader of Finland saying, could he come and see me? And he came the next day and said, will you support my country joining NATO? We got on the telephone. He suggested we call the leader of Switzerland. Switzerland, my goodness, I'm getting really anxious here about expanding NATO. Sweden. And what happened was, we got on the phone and she asked if she could come the next day to want to talk about joining NATO.
Good morning from Athens, Greece. It is around 9:10 on this Saturday morning. I am here in downtown Athens at the Metropolitan Church, Metropolios Church and Square near Monastiraki is down that way, and the main Syntagma, the main center square, is up that way. Plaka, the shopping area, is to my right. So let's talk about Bidenopolis. Since we're in Greece, let's discuss Joe Bidenopolis. And he mixed up Sweden and Switzerland there. No biggie. I think it's all part of the game now with Bidenopolis. But there was a poll out on the Hill where they came out with some really interesting results. 29% of those people polled, according to the Hill, want to see Biden run in 2024, while 71%, let me pull up that number here, 71% of the respondents oppose Biden trying for a second term. There's 29% of Americans that actually want Biden to run again. I can't believe it's that high. I can't believe you have 29% of the country that wants, of those polled, that wants Biden to run again. But it's a huge number, 71%. All jokes aside, 71% of those polled said that they're opposed to Biden running for a second term. The same poll showed the 79-year-old Democrats' overall approval rating was down to just 38%. So an overall approval rating of 38%. 71% say no mas, no more Bidenopolis, enough. I think he's done enough damage in 2 years. I can't possibly imagine what more damage he can do in another 2 years in office. John Voight. I don't know if you guys caught the John Voight, like a PSA, like an announcement, a 2-minute video that he put out there where he's calling for Biden's impeachment. I mean, it's pretty much what he was saying in this video message. He said, "My dear friends, we're all saddened by so much turmoil that has been brought upon this life we can live. Can this darkness be lifted? Can we all share joy once again and see eye to eye? We have a troubled nation with much horror from these criminals that are ruining us. We must stop this now. We must bring back our nation's safety." He went on to say that police must guard our neighborhoods, our businesses, our children, our elderly, our veterans, and our handicapped. And Voight said Americans are angry. And they're angry because President Biden has wronged this nation's glory. He has taken down our morals, our true gift of the land of the free. He must be impeached. We cannot wait another second of having him dictate our path. So yeah, he called for impeachment. So okay, he's just a Hollywood actor, but he's one of the rare, I guess, Hollywood actors that leans conservative, I guess is how you would categorize John Voight. Traditional conservative. He's Angelina Jolie's father, actually. So yeah, I guess he may be at odds with his daughter. But yeah, so that was John Voight calling for Bidenopolis' impeachment. In Europe, you had Ursula von der Crazy speaking with Zelensky on the phone, and she basically gave a list of to-do things for Zelensky so that Ukraine can continue on its path towards entering the European Union. And let me pull up a tweet here that Vander Crazy sent out. She said, "Thank you, President Zelensky, for inviting me to address this special session of Parliament." Okay, so she was speaking to Parliament. "Ukrainians are fighting back bravely. Europe will do everything in our power to help Ukraine win this war, and we will not rest until you prevail." She said, speaking to the Parliament, okay, she said, "The next steps are within your reach, but they will require hard work, determination, and above all else, unity of purpose." She also told the Parliament, Ukraine is a candidate country to join the European Union, something that seemed almost unimaginable just 5 months ago. So today is first and foremost a moment to celebrate the historic milestone, a victory of determination and resolve, and a victory for the whole movement that started 8 years ago on the Maidan. She said that Ukraine has a long way to go before becoming a member. Ukraine's candidate status to join the EU is something that was hard to imagine just 5 months ago, and the country still has a long way to go before becoming a member. This is what she told the Ukraine Parliament, and it wasn't that hard to make them a candidate country. It was a vote that was based purely on politics. It had nothing to do with the fiscal policy or the human rights policy or any of these other democracy and stuff like that the EU likes to talk about so much. Had nothing to do with any of that stuff, because if they actually based it on just fiscal policy, let's just take fiscal economic policy of Ukraine, Ukraine wouldn't be anywhere in the same universe with the requirements of entering the European Union, or at least what the European Union has down on paper for requirements to enter the Union. So it was just a political decision. It wasn't really that hard, Ursula. You took a political decision in order to get some virtue signaling points and to stick it to Putin, and now you're going to have a really, really hard time trying to integrate Ukraine into Europe, or at least whatever's left of Ukraine into Europe. Ukraine is actually talking about restructuring its debt now and all kinds of things as well. It's pretty interesting. I find it really interesting that they keep on going on about Ukraine entering the EU and having to do these certain things. Like Ursula gave them a whole list of things to do in order to move closer towards their EU path. And it's like she's totally just oblivious to to what's going on in Donbass and in the south of Ukraine as the Russians just keep on pushing forward. She's just focusing on giving Ukraine a to-do list so that they can enter the European Union, which will most likely be a rump Ukraine with no access to the sea, the loss of all of its industrial productive heartland. If there's anything left, what is that anything of Ukraine going to actually be that enters the European Union? And that's if Poland doesn't decide, we might as well get a piece of Lviv as well before everything completely falls apart. So, there are some rumblings once again in Poland. Things died down for a bit, but there are some rumblings that and some talk that maybe Poland might be re-examining the integration of the Lviv region. We'll see. With regards to the EU and Kaliningrad, specifically Germany, there was this Der Spiegel article that came out yesterday, which said that that Chancellor Scholz and the German administration, the German government, is very, very pissed off at Lithuania with this Kaliningrad debacle, and that they're telling Lithuania to pretty much back off from their doubling down on the blockade to Kaliningrad. And this was in Der Spiegel, so Der Spiegel, they kind of have their pulse on what the government is thinking of in Germany. So I think it's a pretty accurate report coming from Der Spiegel. And the German government, according to Der Spiegel, is irritated by Lithuania's transit blockade of sanctioned goods from mainland Russia to its enclave. And the media outlets ran the article on Thursday, and they're claiming that the EU, not least because of Berlin's request, would soon issue a clarification allowing the passage of any goods between mainland Russia and its westernmost regions. Officials in Berlin reportedly view the transit currently being blocked by Vilnius as transport from Russia to Russia, which it is, which should be allowed. Lithuania's uncompromising stance has allegedly angered the German leadership. This is coming from Der Spiegel. The magazine went on to suggest that Olaf Scholz's government is wary that Moscow could use force to secure a land corridor through Lithuania unless the blockade is lifted. Yeah, absolutely. They should worry that that Russia will use force. Not now, but eventually, if this blockade isn't lifted, Russia's going to be forced to use force. They're going to have to use force in order to remove the blockade. So, coming from Der Spiegel, I imagine that Germany is absolutely pissed off with Lithuania, and they're going to absolutely put pressure on Lithuania. The question that remains is, the neocons are putting the pressure on Lithuania to keep this blockade going. Does Olaf Scholz, does he have the guts to take on the neocons and press Lithuania to lift the blockade? Or will the neocons just ring up Olaf Scholz like they've done so many other times and just say, please, Scholz, back off? Let's keep an eye on this story and see how it plays out. And do I have any more updates? I actually have a couple of more updates. One has to do with the Turkey, Finland, Sweden row. And the authorities, the administration in Finland and Sweden, they're saying that they're not going to, well, they don't say they're not going to extradite anybody. They just basically say that the terms of the agreement that were agreed upon with Turkey, well, it doesn't mean that they're going to actually extradite these PKK Kurds back to Turkey. And that is what Finland is saying. And they came out with a statement. They said the agreement by Finland, Turkey, and Sweden is about facilitating extradition, but mentions that it takes place in accordance with European extradition agreements. So that is the statement coming out of Finland. Okay. So basically, Finland and Sweden are saying, yeah, we have extradition terms in the agreement that we signed with Turkey in order to get our yes vote into NATO, but you're not really giving us the names or any details. You're just kind of saying the extradition happens in accordance with European law. And of course, the European law is going to say that we don't extradite anybody to Turkey. Right? So, nice carvings. So yeah, I don't think this is going to get resolved. This is going to be a year-long back and forth. That's what's going to happen. For a whole year, we're going to hear this going back and forth. Turkey's going to say, give us this, or we're not going to send your application to the parliament. Finland and Sweden are going to say, no, this is against European law, and it's just going to go like this for a whole year. That's what's going to happen. And another update that I want to give out before, I'll do an update, and then I'll talk about two more stories, and we'll get to our clown world. We have a lot of small news topics. An update with Snake Island, and I actually spotted this on iEarlGrey's channel, and this kind of caught my eye, and that is that according to Russian State Duma, the deputy of the Russian State Duma, Chernyak, according to Alexei Chernyak, Snake Island remains under the control of the fleet and the Russian aerospace forces. Quote, our fighters from the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation liberated Zmyny Island from Ukrainian nationalists, repulsed several attempts to land Ukrainian troops, shot down a significant number of aircraft and drones. Then the island becomes under the control of our missiles, fleet, and airborne forces. So, I mean, this is kind of correct. To be honest, it's a freaking rock. It's probably about the size of this square. I mean, look at this square. And I think this is about the size of Snake Island, right? So it's meaningless. It's not stopping the grain and all of this stuff. The New Atlas, they had a really good report on this. And he makes a great point, Brian, at the New Atlas. He says, look, the grain out of Odessa that's supposedly being blocked, that the West is talking about as being blocked by Russians and can't leave Odessa. The reason it can't leave Odessa, and we've said this many times, is because Zelensky mined the area around Odessa. He put mines all across the Black Sea, and those mines are everywhere. And he's the one that is stopping the ships from leaving Odessa port. It has nothing to do with this island located way off the coast, closer to Romania. It's just fiction. But go to iEarlGrey's video, and he gets into more depth with this story. But it's true that no one should be on this island. There's no reason for anyone to be on this island. And if Ukraine wants to set up shop there, well, the Russians could easily, vaporize whatever installations or forces Ukraine decides to put on this tiny rock. And the media that is running with this story, like the New Atlas, it's really funny because Brian pulled out an article from the New Atlas, and I believe on the New Atlas, and he was reading an article from Al Jazeera. And Al Jazeera was making the claim that, I think it was Al Jazeera. I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it was Al Jazeera anyway. They were claiming that now that Ukraine has liberated Snake Island, they control the entire Black Sea. They have the ability now to control all the Black Sea. And I was just like, oh man. They make it seem like Snake Island is like, I don't know, it's like Turkey. Snake Island is like the size of Turkey. and Snake Island is the Bosphorus, and it controls everything that passes through. It's the Suez Canal, and it controls the entire, waterways that the passages that enter the Black Sea. It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to laugh at the mainstream media. They're so ridiculous. They are really absolutely ridiculous in their reporting, but it's all a distraction. It's a distraction from what's happening in Donbass, which is a complete Ukraine military meltdown, a massive defeat. And the Russians have encircling Lysychansk, and they've gotten the oil refinery, and they're going to be moving towards the Bakhmut highway, and then eventually they're going to make their way to Slavyansk, and that is going to be the big battle in and around Slavyansk. And that battle, if and when the Russians win, and I see no reason why the Russians won't win that battle, Lugansk and Donetsk will, for the most part, be 100% whole. All those regions will be liberated. So, on the topic of grain, since we mentioned grain, let me do one more story and two more stories. I've got so many little stories here that I want to talk about. And we'll wrap it up with a quick clown world. Two quick stories. The first one is that Russia has now added grain, sunflower oil, and extracted meal to the list of exports that must be paid for in rubles. So we have gas for rubles, and now we have grain, sunflower oil, and extracted meal for rubles. Slowly, the ruble scheme is moving across all commodities. I imagine by September, October, it's going to pretty much cover all of Russia's resources are going to have to be paid for in rubles. Friendly countries, of course, they're going to have favorable terms. Unfriendly countries open up a bank account at Gazprom Bank, and Russia will take care of the rest. And another story, which is kind of a retaliatory move from Russia, given all the LNG tanker confiscation piracy that took place the other day on the side of Germany seizing 3 LNG tankers of Russia. We have the news that Putin has signed a decree to transfer the rights of the giant Sakhalin-2 oil and liquefied natural gas project to a new Russian company. The move comes in response to actions from unfriendly states and can force out foreign stakeholders, including British and Japanese investors. I believe that one of the companies invested in Sakhalin is, I think Shell is one of them. Yep, Shell has a 27.5 minus 1 share stake. Mitsui and Mitsubishi are also invested in Sakhalin with a 12.5% stake, and Mitsubishi holds a 10% stake. And the majority stake actually belongs to Gazprom. So this is all going to go under a new company. And these unfriendly countries, well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with their stakes. If there's any type of compensation, or if they're offered stakes in this new entity. Doubted, but we'll see. So, they've been kicked out of the Sakhalin. This is a big LNG project. And, this is kind of a retaliatory move from Russia. One of the first real confiscation, nationalization, retaliatory moves from the Russian government. Peskov, when they asked him the question if this was any type of nationalization, he said, no, this is not us nationalizing something, but it is. It's nationalization, isn't it? They're calling it a change of ownership. That's how Peskov was kind of framing it, a change of ownership. And it cannot be considered nationalization, according to Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov when he was asked by reporters. And how have foreign stakeholders reacted? Shell said on Friday that the company was aware of the decree and was assessing its implications. The firm made clear its intentions to quit the project months ago and has been in talks with potential buyers, including China and India. Those plans appear to be in jeopardy. So, the interesting part about all of these projects that, especially a lot of these energy projects, say the Sakhalin, is that Shell and these companies and other projects that say Exxon, that Chevron was invested in, or any of these other energy, Western energy companies, any of the projects they were invested in, is that they decided to abandon these projects months ago when the SMO started. And all the sanctions came down. Companies like Shell and Chevron and all these companies, they actually said, you know what, we're going to pull out of these joint ventures and these projects that we have with Russia, and we're going to leave. So, yes, it's a nationalization, in my opinion. Peskov disagrees, but yes, the Russian government is taking over. But, these companies abandoned these projects anyway. So, it's... you might as well restructure everything, I guess, put it under a new entity, and take it from there. It hurts. It's going to hurt the West. The collective West is going to look at this and they're going to say, even though they left and abandoned these projects, they're going to say, how dare they? How dare they take our 27% stake in Sakhalin? But, Germany seized 3 LNG tankers, so what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as they say. And Russia hasn't really done many retaliatory moves yet. So this is a big one, I would say. I would consider this a pretty significant move from the Russian government. And I believe it's time to do a clown world. While we're on the subject of LNG, though, there are reports coming out of the mainstream media. They're very happy that for the first time in June, the European Union actually brought in more LNG from the United States than gas pipelined in from Russia. This should probably be my top story, to be quite honest. But while the mainstream media was saying this is a big event, this is huge, it shows that the European Union is weaning itself off of of Russian gas is actually a very troubling and disturbing story. And it's a troubling and disturbing story because there's not enough LNG that the United States could possibly bring into the EU to fulfill their requirements. Not even close. I mean, if you maxed out all the LNG that the US was capable of bringing to ship to Europe, it would only cover something like, I think it's something like 20% up or down of all the total LNG requirements of the European Union. I mean, it's not nearly enough, not even close. Here you go. Europe imported from Russia, pipelined from Russia, 150 billion cubic meters of gas last year. And they also brought in another 14 million to 18 million cubic meters of LNG from Russia. And I've read reports and studies, and this has been confirmed multiple times, that at best, at maximum capacity, the United States could probably bring in somewhere around 25 to 30 billion cubic meters of LNG to the EU. And they need 150 billion. That's what they brought in from Russia via the pipelines. In a whole calendar year, 150 billion. So even in the best case scenario, all of the LNG that the US has to bring to the EU wouldn't be nearly enough to fulfill the EU's requirements. Now, why is this troubling? Well, it means that in June, the EU wasn't getting any gas from Russia, or very little gas from Russia. If the LNG actually eclipsed pipeline gas in June, that means that Europe is in big trouble, really big trouble. That means that the gas is being shut off from Russia to the European Union, and we're in June. July, August, September, October, November. We got many months ahead of us, and we've got the winter months ahead of us. And there's not enough LNG from the US to bridge this massive gap, 150 billion cubic meters. Not enough. Not enough at all. So this is actually a very troubling sign, the fact that that pipeline gas from Russia dipped so low that even LNG imports eclipsed it. This is bad news for Europe, but the mainstream media is making it out to be good news, which just shows how completely out of it they are. So, yeah, it's going to be a hard winter for the European Union. Very hard winter. If a trend like this keeps up, it's not going to be good. So let's do a clown world and we'll wrap up this video. We had a lot of news topics, a lot of small news topics in this video. So this is going to be an interesting clown world. This clown world deals with Halifax Bank in the UK, which told customers they can close their bank accounts if they do not like its values, following a Twitter row over the staff including gender pronouns on their name tags. The company posted a photo of a staff member wearing a name tag Gemma, followed by she, her, hers. The tweet said, "Pronouns matter. Hashtag it's a people thing." The tweet has amassed over 9,000 comments and has been retweeted just under 3,000 times. Some Twitter users have responded negatively to the tweet, with one asking, "How do I close my account?" A Halifax representative responded to the tweet with clear instructions on how to close it. According to Andy M., a Halifax employee, "You can close your account by calling us on the phone number or putting your request in writing to Halifax account closure team." So this whole row took place, and the Halifax Bank actually suggested that users who don't agree with this new pronoun initiative, that they actually close their bank account. And what happened was that a lot of people started to close their bank account at Halifax Bank. Uh, People have rushed to close their accounts with a major high street bank over a dispute about pronouns on name badges. Halifax told customers to close their accounts if they were not happy with employees displaying pronouns on their name badges. The company has said the move was a very simple solution to accidental misgendering, that's a quote, and told customers if they dislike their values, they can close their accounts. It came to light when a photo was shared on Twitter of a badge with the name of Jenna and the pronouns she, her, and hers on it. The Daily Mail has reported that people have rushed to close their accounts with the bank over the introduction of the new name badges. One account holder told Mail Online they have pulled out investments and savings worth £450,000, while many more said they are closing ISAs. One Daily Mail reader canceled his Halifax credit cards online today and told customer services, "Pronouns matter when used properly. I will not be told by a bank what I can't and can't." Another critic said, "I care because they paid someone to come up with this rubbish, but they keep closing branches." They're right. What kind of customer service representative actually tells people that are upset with whatever policy, anything, it doesn't matter, pronouns, whatever? What customer service rep actually tweets out a message saying, yeah, just close your account, just leave? They put it on Twitter. That is just asking for trouble. And that is just asking for people to close their account. Anyway, that is the clown world coming out of the UK and out of Halifax Bank. So it looks like Halifax is going to experience a little bit of a bank run because of this PR media debacle. I'm still quite stunned that a bank actually had their customer service reps tell people to close their accounts if they don't like it. Anyway, that is the clown world, everybody. That is the video coming to you from downtown Athens, Greece. Check out Alexander's channel. He's doing great analysis every day. Check out the Duran's channel. We had a really great live stream with the super smart Tom Luongo, and we talked about all kinds of topics actually, but with a focus on economics and finances and stuff like that, oil and the oil caps and sanctions, all these things. But definitely check it out. It was a great live stream with Tom. And go to the Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY, theduran.locals.com. Take care, everybody.